Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk. Welcome back, guys, and thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your support of the channel. As always, smash the subscribe button if you like what you see right here. Today, we're going to take a look at a game for Love and Retirement. 54 from my clan, GFLC. Spawned into the south on Prok, which is one of the most dynamic maps in the game. Probably might be my favorite map, with a close second maybe being Malnovka, to be quite honest. I just really like how this is a thinking man's map. All right, you've got to understand all of the ways that the whole map supports almost the rest of the whole map. There is almost nothing on this map that is not useful in terms of places you can play or go. Obviously, all the way to the corners or something might not be that great, but it's just a great all-around map. Really enjoy this map. All right, so Love and Retirement has spawned in here into the south. In the south spawn, this is a standard battle. And he sent me this with some notes. We'll go over some of those as we go, but gist of it is he had a good initial plan that he thought of, well executed. We'll take a look at that part, and then was a little bit unsure what to do next. And I think the initial plan is pretty, I was about to say it's pretty easy. It's not necessarily easy, but general places to go can be easy. As you play the game enough and watch some videos, you get some general ideas of places you can go. How do you play them? How do you react to the rest of the game? That's the big deal. That's going to move you from that 50% player to 55 and above. You'll notice he's got a Camel Net and Binox. This is an A-20 battle. Had to put Mocha in the crate. We have somebody doing some work on the house outside, and all she wants to do is bark at him. Okay, so he's headed for the hill over on the east side on the 0 line. This is a pretty standard play. You really have a couple options, three options with scouts. Obviously, you can troll the middle hill right there, get spots. There are some artillery, so you could get some early shots from artillery on guys trying to move up to, say, the 5-6 line or somewhere in the middle. You can obviously go 1-2 line, that's another option, or you can go up the hill and he's going to take up a position in a bush here that is a good position. As soon as he gets in there, you'll obviously know where it is. Some of you may already know this position. Now this is a mid-tier battle, low to mid-tier. We have 6s and 5s hanging out here. This spot is fairly well known, especially at the higher tiers. Guys get spotted right there. There's a couple options. Either somebody's in one of these bushes here who will soon get spotted, or I'm sorry, well, they could be in these bushes, but more likely the ones up top right around here. But if they push up, they being, say, the Panzer 5-4, and he gets kind of close to proxy and nobody gets lit, then they all know you're in this row right here. So you can eat some blind fires or artillery fires. Again, though, this is a mid to low tier, so not as likely. You just got to pay attention to that. So he's going to tuck himself into these bushes right here, and that gives him a lot of SA, gives his team a lot of SA as they move up here to the hill. One thing that I'm trying to bring into my cross-check a little more, and it's been in the game for quite a while, and some of you probably pay attention to it a lot better than I do. I do talk a lot about counting noses and kind of getting a guesstimate on where everybody might be. And that's very helpful on this map, especially if you get an overload on one side. The other side gets a general idea of what they might or may not be able to do based on the tanks that are lit or unlit. In this case, if we look over on the top right, we can see these little bulbs are showing up. The ones that are bright mean that that tank is lit. If the light goes out, it means it has been lit somewhere, and there will probably, or not probably, there will be a corresponding old light position on the map. So right now he's got all these guys lit. You can see that he's got, what, 4 of them lit right now. And let's watch for one of them. There we go. So the Panzer 4-5 has gone unlit, right? He's gone dark, as we say. There's the little marker there on the mini-map. It's just a circle now instead of the symbol for the type of tank it is, or the class of tank. And then you'll notice the corresponding, that bulb has gone dim, I guess you could call it, or it's grayed out. So that means he's been spotted, but he is not currently spotted, and that's all great info. So if we look at this right now, we know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of their tanks have been spotted. I don't have any old spotlights, something. I don't have any markers over here on the west side, which means all of these guys, all 6 of them are over here, with the exception of the 3601, which is on the 5-6 line. All right, that's all pretty standard stuff. We can see some guys moving up in terms of deployment, but it does give the big stack of fellers over on the west side some SA on what actually might be over there. And right off the bat, I look at this and I go, well, that's very interesting. Neither 3601 is on the 1 line. Those are heavies. Neither is the Sturb 74. And let's just let this thing go on. We'll talk a little bit then about the positioning options, and one of the things I haven't talked about right now is assessing the other team and what their possibilities are. In this case, they have an ELC, so the only two scouts in the game are the A-20, which is what our hero is driving, and the ELC BIS, which has not been lit. Not very useful for an ELC to come up the hill from the north spawn. Unfortunately for the north spawn, they do not have a corresponding bush like this one that they can sneak into and do some really early sneaky stuff like this, where Love and Retirement is going to absolutely just gather up a bunch of hit points. It is possible to sneak into one of these bushes right here, except that it's a longer drive for the north, and often the south side already has somebody up here or even a scout down here. So the ELC could sneak into here or here, one of these two bushes. I would kind of recommend this one, the closer one, because if you're over in this one, you get the possibility of being proxy lit by these guys, especially if the green team gets down into this bowl right here and starts poking up and over. You can get proxy lit, but you have the same problem with this bush because they'll sneak around here in the low spot to look, and you're definitely going to get proxy lit. And unfortunately, the north spawn just has a worse off case here. However, we all know, and if you don't, I'll tell you, the north spawn has a better case over there. Now my line that I'm pointing at shows the bush in E1, where you can get up in there and do some serious spotting. If I look at this, I know they have an ELC and I have an A-20. My A-20 is over here. My assumption, unless I see the ELC somewhere else, he's either working the bush line on the 2 line right here, 2 column, or he's up in the magic bush. I guess it's actually E1. Did I say that? I think I said E1. So E1 right there. We'll see. Let's see what happens. Highly recommend holding shots here, guys, especially while your team is getting shots. Also, it's important to pay attention to where your team is. He does have guys to shoot over here, which is good. All right. If you're in this bush and there's one guy here and he's not doing much, and these dudes keep poking, and then they realize there's nobody up here really, and they do a hard push because they did send a lot of tanks, now you're in big trouble right here. It's hard to get out. Lovin's going to have to actually bail here in a few moments. Let's talk about that right now in terms of positioning, and we'll watch what he does. One option coming into this bush here is when you get into it is to turn the tank around so it's pointed actually that way, I suppose. So it's pointed that way, and if you get lit, you can run. And if you run, you're going to go for this low spot where the T-34 is, old risky dingo right here. Okay, just run forward, cut left, dive into the low spot, reassess whether you want to continue to try to spot up here or maybe bail out. Another option is to go right off the edge here and just kind of slide down there. That'll get you down low. All right, so we'll watch what he does once he decides to get out of there. So he's aiming. You can tee those up if you've got, I want to say if you tee those up and you've got the spotting, the extra spotting skill that continues guys being spotted, I think that'll help. I'd have to look at that again. I always forget exactly how that skill works. So Levin has a situation with the other scout that he's dealing with which has not been spotted yet, in that tank has a lot more camo than he does, and he's going to have a hard time out camoing him. All right, so we have a nice scrum going on here. You see Levin kind of looking at him thinking, all right, do I want to finish him off? I don't want him to get away. Doesn't matter. Everybody just absolutely pummels him. This dude, I might have thought about shooting there. If you do shoot there, unfortunately, well, you've given away your spot, obviously. You're going to have to bail into this low spot right here. So I think it was probably a good idea not to. I get tempted, though, when they get down to one shots. But let's kind of look at the overall situation of the game. It's a little early for that yet. We've only killed one of them. They've killed one of us. We seem to be ahead a little bit over here in terms of hit points, having a pretty good day of it over here. But let's just hold this position. Now let's swing back over to the spotting lights and take a look at what we've got now. 3601's both spotted. Sturb and 3002 both spotted. Okay, 3002's down there on the 6 column. We have the Cavalier spotted. He's on the hill. The Panzer 5.4 on the hill. The T-67 was spotted over in the middle. So what does that leave? We have a Skoda, a Hellcat, and a Churchill. That's 3. An Archer 4. And an ELC. 5 tanks and 2 artillery unspotted, and 1 guy's dead. If I'm the 1-2 line, I need to pay attention to this pretty closely. There's only 5 of them. So I don't think it's time to kind of push in there yet, but let's watch this thing develop and see what kind of SA we can gather from the lights where tanks are, counting noses and using that little tool over there. to figure out exactly where all these tanks are. The KV-1 moves up into the low spot. I don't know if maybe he was thinking some of that. Going, well, there's not a whole lot over here. Let me try to jump into this little low spot. The problem in this particular game with getting in that low spot is every time you're lit, you're going to be eating grill and 13 AM shots, and those guys fire quickly. So they are going to whittle you down. It looks like, oh, there's the Hellcat. All right, found that guy. These guys continue to take hits. I don't even know why they're pushing up and over. This is something you see at the mid to lower tiers. Oftentimes people just continue to poke into damaging shots. Unfortunately, the guy that jumped up into the middle there, the KV-2, gets nuked. I'm not really sure why he pushed up like that, but he did. I guess reference the thing I just mentioned. I don't know why people do it at this tier, but they do. This poor Cavalier is completely way too high, just drives up into the open. And then the 3601 thinks, well, I'll just do the same thing. That seemed like fun going back to garage. Let's pause again and just assess. All of a sudden, we've created quite the advantage. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them dead. We only have unlit the Churchill, Archer, and ELC. I would make a huge assumption that all 3 of those guys are on the 1 column. All right, there is artillery backing them up. But right now, a major push on the 1-2 on the 1 column by the 4 tanks there, maybe with backup by the T-67. I don't know what this Pollak's doing. Is he AFK? I don't see him moving. Didn't notice that. So maybe the Pollak is AFK back there. Let's take a little peeky poo at this dude. What's he doing back here? He's in a bush. Okay, fantastic. Reference again my mention earlier that it is a mid to low tier battle, and this kind of stuff happens. You do have to take that into account while you're assessing it. You might look at that and go, okay, well, he's either AFK, but it looks like he's actually moved into the bush. Okay, this is a guy that's going to sit in the bush in the back. I can't count on him. It'd be really nice if that tier 6 heavy was somewhere more supportive or helpful, but he's not. So let's try to work around that right now. The 3002 is making a bold move right here. And this is one of the things that Love and Retirement mentioned. I'm going to take a look here and watch how this goes down. I've watched it a couple times. And I'll tell you what he said, and I'll tell you what I think actually happened right here. So the 3002, he's looking at him. I think he's actually looking at the guys in the bushes behind back there. A shot did go by. I don't know if maybe he figures the A-20's there. It is possible. There goes that shot. But it looks like he's shooting at the guys behind, to be quite honest. Still, he's making a move for this low spot, so I don't know if maybe he's just trying to get out of the way of fire, or maybe he thinks this dude, I would imagine anyone with any clue right now is probably clicking on this bush, going, hey, every time we poke, we're getting absolutely spotted. And yes, you can get spotted coming up on these bushes, but if you get spotted before you really crest, start to suspect this bush right here, because that's what was happening. They'd get spotted, and by the time they even got to the crest, they were already lit. And if you think of the 3-second delay, Love and Retirement's picking them up, down here, and about 3 seconds later they crest, and then they lit, and then they light. All right, that's telling you were lit for a while, which means you were lit further down the hill, which means there's probably somebody in this bush right here. Let's just watch how this goes here, because I'm not sure what he thinks happened. Okay, that guy backs out. 3002's coming in. Dives down the hill, and we start moving. All right, so I think, my friend, he hadn't quite lit you yet, and I believe you're pulling back is what maybe got you lit. And I don't know if maybe, let's take a look at the 3000. Is he high enough? Yeah, it is very possible that you lit yourself by moving. Now, you had to move because he was going to proxy light you. And I don't think at the end of the day it matters too much which one saw you, but it might have been your actual move that got you lit right there. Now, that being said, if you had turned around, you could have skedaddled straight for this low spot, for one thing. That's probably your best bet. If you hadn't turned around, I would have driven forward and cut right, because I'm much faster forward. What you end up doing is we're going to back out of it, and maybe thinking, well, let's get into this low spot, and I'll cover up for any shots from down here. But you're not doing a whole lot of help from the guys in the middle, which is the 3001 or 3601, which puts a hit on you. And even if I got to this point, I might zing forward and dive into this low spot. I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest, that you survived as long as you did. There's a little bit of hold down cover there, but you just kind of keep backing out. Remember, you're lit for about 10 seconds or potentially more. depending on what different skills they have. All right, this gets us to where you discussed what you didn't know or you didn't have a plan next. You didn't have a plan next, okay? So we kind of figured out, you got lit, we talked about getting out of that, and then you said something like you weren't sure what to do next, and you were going to go kill the 3002. Okay? Come back here. You're thinking, well, I got to get that 3002 out of that ditch. Can't let him sit there. Keep on backing. Kind of surprised the 3601 didn't come up high. I'll be honest with you, I would absolutely not have gone up higher on this hill. If that 3601 pops here, now you get people just have all kinds of free shots on you. And to be honest, if you were going to go after the 3002, you do know you can go off this edge, right? If you go off carefully and don't try not to get sideways and scrape your tracks off, go full back power, full reverse power, and just kind of creep down that hill. I mean, you will slide, but you can actually get off that hill without damaging your tank pretty easily. Now, I've mentioned several times, that guy thanks you for all the damage. We're at 2,788 assist. Now, I've mentioned it several times, and you mentioned it in your note, you're going to go get the 3002. Well, I think everyone, or a significant portion of the people watching, are saying, you idiot Guido, the 3002 is dead. That is exactly right. So he died down there, and that is something that you're going to have to just try to add to your cross-check when you're doing things like this. It's easy to miss, but the little marker came up and said somebody had killed him, and then, of course, his dead marker is sitting right there. So that's just one of the, whoa, that's definitely a way you can damage yourself right there. So now we're going to go back to what are my follow-on plans. Right now you're in a reactive mode, trying to go kill the 3002. He's dead, so this ends up wasting some time. It is something that a lot of people do. I do it as well. You go, ooh, I'm going to go kill that guy, and then you realize, oh shit, somebody else got him. Or maybe you spend a lot of time driving in that direction. That's your plan, and then somebody else kills him. So I don't know why you didn't, once you saw him, you didn't just bail out. Or maybe you kept going thinking, where is this guy? I'm not sure. You'd have to let us know right there. But this does end up costing you a lot of time. And that is all part and parcel of what's my follow-on plan. All right, general follow-on plans for Prok, my friends. From that position right there, obviously the 1-2 line could use some help at this point. They really didn't do anything with that advantage we talked about. Look at it again. It's a Churchill, an Archer, and an AMX ELC. What's pretty funny about your team is they do a pretty significant job of parking this game away. And one of the reasons is everybody is now in farming mode. You're winning 7-2 and everyone goes, ooh, we got this. This is one of those maps you have to be very careful about your farming mode activate situation, all right? Yes, it looks like a pretty good win. It should be a romple stomp, but if the enemy team turtles up and they have a couple guys with some good guns, or dudes just plain old walk into them, or artillery is especially effective, such as a AMX 13AM and a grill with fast-firing guns, you start losing guys. There goes the KV-1 right there. Everyone's trying to kill off the Skoda and the 3601H, and we kind of cruise up in here and then dive down. All right, oh, very interesting. All right, so we have just done some spotting action. Doesn't look like it's one of those two, so I think we can discount those two right there. Possible if they were high enough, but I think your spotting or your camo is good enough. And really, if you look at what's left, you go, yeah, okay, that stinking ELC BIS is close enough. I mean, maybe the Archer's turtled up somewhere, or not turtled up, but camoed somewhere, could be him. Your most likely culprit for that light is the ELC. So what do I do with that? Like, okay, I certainly would not poke, all right? I just got lit. I absolutely would not poke up there and let one of the guys who are already probably aiming in right there get a shot at my turret. Just dive in there, do some circles, because you don't want to get by Artie. This surprised me too. Oh shit, okay. And then we dive back down. All right, so what would I do instead? Once I got lit on that ridge, come down here and kind of spin around. One of the problems is you got to be really careful, and it looks like you went dark on him. So when you got into this spot over here, you were low enough that he didn't have any more lights on you. And actually, folks, you know where he is. He's up here in this spot, and it is, in fact, E1 that I was talking about. All right. So you want to dive into this section here, move around so Artie doesn't shoot. If no Artie shots come in, that's fantastic. That means they're not looking at you, at least right now, okay? That's good. I mean, they may be shifting to look at you at this point, but if a shot didn't come in, that's really good, because if they shoot at you, they're probably going to reload and be staring there, waiting for you to show up again, all right? Which, for me, if someone shot at me, I'd probably wait a little longer before I poke to maybe try to get the arty to get bored. Okay, so there's a couple little nuances in that one. So I want to be tucked up against this right here. Then my next pokes are going to be very careful pokes with just my turret right in this little nook. Okay, I do have to be careful about one of these jokers coming over and being so close that every time I poke they see me. The other beauty of doing this just a little bit of a poke right here, just kind of up a little bit and down, just test the waters, see if you get lit, is you might continue to light the guys over here, which all of a sudden is a problem because all your goobers who kept poking and peeking over there trying to kill those guys got shredded. Well, what do you think they got shredded by? Artillery and the snipperinos that are sitting in the 2-column bushes there, right? The ELC's lighting them from over here. Your guys here were lighting those guys. Your guys over here were being lit by your guys on the 5-6 line. So they just peeked and poked into oblivion, and your Pollack is dead, which is it's just absolutely amazing. But again, you got to work around that. All right. So your best bet is this little nook, this little corner. Peek up and poke and see if you can kind of find what's going on. At the very least, you'll find out how far you can go before you get lit, rather than just drive up on top and drive around. Oh, I'm lit 3 seconds ago, and I'm way up on top where all these dudes can shoot me, and I lose a bunch of hit points, which is kind of what ends up happening right here. Now the Skoda's making a runner. That's good to know. You can see that he was moving to the north right there. I like this right here. You notice this dude, and then you're just very carefully poking up enough to get shots. One bounce on the side. I love this. So the side shot missed or bounced or whatever happened right there. And the front shot, I think, got into the side of his turret because it very much should have bounced off the front of the tank. That's pretty awesome. We didn't get lit. Okay. Then I saw you doing this, and I thought, all right, that's good. Just take a little peeky poo right here. Okay. Hang out. Binocs. So that's something we didn't talk about. You do have the binocs. Notice, guys, actually, let's just back this up because I want you guys to see this in case you don't know. I think 99.9% of you know this. It's always fun to watch this guy die. Notice that his binoculars, they actually activated because he stopped. But we're going to show what that looks like. So his camo net and binoculars are equipment that you have to maintain 3 seconds or so of being still. So he kind of creeps forward and he stops. 1001, 1002, 1003. There you go. Roughly 3 seconds. You can see that they highlight down here. So his camo net is activated and his binoculars. Again, I think my move into this bush just to beat this dead horse is I'd have done a couple pokes in back just to see if he saw me. Then I'd creep into this bush and go with binocs. And it's unfortunate you didn't light him right here. You just don't have enough burn through. And it's also a little bit surprising he didn't see you. Break. This is tier 6, my friends. There's no CVS, okay? CVS changes this a little bit. Probably gets lit if there's a tier 8 light tank sitting up there and he comes creeping up here. More than likely he gets lit right there. Maybe not in an ELC versus some other. And then we scooch forward. And we're lit like a big dog. Why? Because we just went across this open spot right here. All right, that open spot has an open line of sight up into that bush. So I don't know, Levin, if you were suspecting the ELC was up in that bush or not. I would have assumed he was. This move across here is very problematic for that exact reason. There's an opening right there. Options. Could have just bailed through it and dove down into this low spot right here. And then maybe start getting lights for your snipperinos who are all still Camp-A-Llama Ding Dang. You notice they're beat up. You didn't really see much over here, did you? More than likely, they tried to make a bit of a push, and they got stopped because the ELC lit them, and the Archer and the Artillery and the Churchill 3 were plinking away at those guys. And even your AT-8 lost some hit points right there. Would have been really nice if, say, a medium, top tier like a T-34-85 would have got into the mix there. But all of a sudden, that big overmatch we had over here is sort of going away because we've lost some tanks, frittering them away, trying to get that middle spot. And all of a sudden, it's a little more even at 9 and 6. I do like that. Yeah, you got to get out of here. I don't know why. The second you got lit, it should have been go time. Let me get out of there. There's zero reason. As soon as that light goes off, man, if I'm in a light tank, and I can look at this, you actually found that dude because I think he shot at you in there. In fact, it looks like he did since he did hit you, so he certainly shot at you. And I'm not sure why he did. Let's actually go back to that for a minute. I wonder if he lit him. I may have missed something right there. All right, let's check this out. So we're sitting here. And it may be a case of the light tank. We go here. Do we light him because our... No. We're creeping. We go... Nope. So, I don't know why he swallowed the fly. I guess he will die. That was dumb on his part. A great example, though, guys. Light tank guys. You know, learning light tanks, light tank players. I don't see any reason he should have taken that shot, to be quite honest with you. You got lit. He has snipers. I don't know why they didn't shoot. They actually may be trying to support the Skoda looking the other way. Who knows? But there was zero reason to take that shot. And I think you only got hit by him, right? Yep. And you spotted the Churchill, who I guess maybe shot at you as well. Or perhaps you got close enough and lit him. But that sort of breaks things down big time. All right, let's talk about this next move, my friend. You took some damage. You're down to 177 hit points. You got the ELC BIS out of the bush, which is extremely helpful, but he got away. That's not helpful. So let's stay alive. Let's not just sort of go, whatever. Let's just, go at him and see if I can get some more assist damage. This requires some very careful moves in here. So let's see what you do. Okay, I didn't hate that. That's not bad. Creeping up a little bit. Okay. I know they're close. Do I get lit? All right. This is a common mistake right here. You just drove up and stopped. Bandit's 3 seconds. Again, I'm going to beat this dead horse so much. I have the same problem. You get impatient. You want to get up, get your binocs going, your camel net going, all that good stuff. Come to this corner and a little bit further over and peek up just a couple times and see if you get lit. If not, then drive up and get the camo stuff going. Like, what's your plan to get away right here, right? Oh, shit. All right, that's your view. I saw that marker myself. As soon as I saw that marker, I carve right and I go for the ditch. He's going to see me. And I don't know if you didn't notice him. Now we're going to try to shoot him. Absolutely not. Get out of there, man. Get out of there. And then we end up dying from it. Initial plan was good. I like that spot. I talked about a lot of the ins and outs, positioning, all that good stuff, what you might want to do. We talked about how you got lit, possibilities in there. I think it's because you moved and got into the open a little bit. You would have been proxy lit, though. We did take some hits there. We talked about how to get off that hill, a couple ways that are probably better than the way you did it. I like that the next plan you came up with was to come over here. I would say that if you get on this map again, just look at those 3 possibilities. Look at the other team's light tank. Pick one that you want to go with. Obviously, then you see how it goes. The enemy team gets a vote. You were still getting some damage over there. Once you saw that, I like that you were thinking of the 3002. Unfortunately, it was already dead. We could have saved ourselves time coming across. And then absolutely 100% come over to the 1-2 line and help those guys. That's what I love about this map and a light tank. You can go to one side or the other, help them win it or get an advantage, and then if you're fast enough, get to the other side and go help them. Especially in a case like this where you go, shoot, that ELC must be on the other side. I haven't seen him. I don't really think he's going to be over here anyway, and I don't want him sneaking forward in the bushes and absolutely wrecking my team. And to be quite honest, it was nice that he got there. If I was debriefing him on this, I would have said, good job getting that initial damage and stopping that push. And especially after you were lit on the hill, if I was him, I'd have bailed out of that bush, headed to the north, swung around and started creeping through those bushes. He'd have outspotted all those guys and started absolutely eating them alive. And even with just an Archer and a Churchill, they'd have start whittling down those guys. So that's my comment for him. Nice job on the Skoda. He knew you were there. That's what he's coming for. He knows he needs to get rid of you, and you were low hit points there. I think even if you'd have survived the initial situation I talked about here, as far as soon as you see him bail out, he was coming for you. But that being said, if you're down here not dead and he wants to come up and over, well, maybe these dudes kill him before he gets there, right? Always, always, always give yourself an out and try to stay alive in a scout. So that's a lot, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that right there. Holy cow, 27 minutes. I really babbled a lot about scout stuff there. That's all I've got for today. We will see you.